Peter Kürten was a German serial criminal known as the Vampire of Düsseldorf. In the late 1920s, his crimes made the city of Düsseldorf very afraid. His actions weren't just shocking news stories. They made people think about the darkest sides of what humans can do. Kürten committed many types of crimes, like setting fires, attacking people, and murder. Each crime was more upsetting than the one before. Newspapers spread his terrible reputation. But to understand Kürten, we need to look beyond the fear he caused. His case became very important for criminology, the study of crime. It gave early ideas about how criminals think and how science could help solve crimes. The German government at the time, the Weimar Republic, was already weak. Kürten's wave of terror shook it even more. The police had a hard time keeping up, and you could feel how worried people were. When Kürten was finally caught, people felt relieved. But his case also left lasting questions about where such evil comes from. How could one man cause so much fear? What can we learn from his story? His case is still an important example for crime experts and historians. The story of the Vampire of Düsseldorf is a scary reminder of how complicated people's minds can be. This is the story of Peter Kürten, a real person, not just a legend, whose crimes still affect our understanding of history. Kürten's crimes happened in Germany between the two world wars, a very unsettled time. The country was still suffering from World War I and the Treaty of Versailles, with a failing economy. Prices rose fast, savings became worthless, and many lost their jobs, causing desperation. The Weimar Republic, Germany's new democracy, was weak, facing extreme political groups and street violence. Around 1929, the Golden Twenties brought a short calm, but big problems remained hidden. The Great Depression hit, millions lost money and jobs, and Kürten's attacks heightened fear in society. The under-resourced police struggled with crime and protests. His case became a symbol of the troubled times. And in this environment, the Vampire of Düsseldorf continued his crimes. Peter Kürten's childhood was marked by being very poor, seeing violence, and not being cared for. He was born in 1883 in Cologne, Germany. He grew up in a crowded home where he was mistreated. His father drank too much alcohol and was very cruel, which affected Peter deeply. Seeing violence so early in his life changed how Peter saw the world and how he acted. He spent time in special schools for troubled youth and in prisons. He started committing crimes when he was young. Kürten later said he started being violent as a teenager. He claimed he set fires and even tried to kill someone. We don't know if all his stories were true or if he made them sound worse, but his early life was definitely very hard. This pattern of being mistreated and then breaking the law is common in the backgrounds of many criminals. Understanding Kürten's childhood doesn't excuse his crimes, but it helps us understand the background. People who study crime look at these kinds of life stories to find out why people become violent. In Kürten's case, the path to his future crimes started very early. His story is a clear example of how a person's surroundings and what happens to them can lead to them becoming a criminal. The bad things in his childhood were a sign of the terrible things he would do later. In 1929, the city of Düsseldorf was filled with fear as Kürten committed more and more attacks. His victims were men, women, and children. No one felt safe. His crimes were brutal, and he seemed to choose victims without a clear reason. He did things like attacking people with scissors and setting fires. This made the whole city panic. Newspapers called him the Vampire of Düsseldorf. This name, which came from the horrible details of his attacks, made people even more scared and panicked. The police were under a lot of pressure. Each new crime made the city feel less safe. People stayed off the streets at night. Rumors and distrust spread very quickly. Some people formed their own groups to try to protect themselves because they felt the police weren't doing enough. Even though police investigated thoroughly and talked to hundreds of people, Kürten was hard to find. His ability to act like a normal person made him even more dangerous. The fear had a huge effect on people's minds in Düsseldorf. Normal daily life was turned upside down, and people stopped trusting each other. The city had faced hard times before, but nothing like the fear Kürten caused. His crimes left a painful memory for the city that would last for many years. The vampire's time of attacks was not just a series of crimes. It was a way of making everyone afraid. Düsseldorf would never be the same. Kürten's path to being caught started with Maria Budlik. She was a young woman who felt he was dangerous when she was with him. After getting a letter from Kürten that worried her, Maria was brave. She went to the police instead of meeting him like he asked. The information she gave police was the big break they really needed. Police set a trap. They arranged for Maria to meet Kürten while officers hid nearby. When Kürten showed up, he was quickly arrested in May 1930. The whole city felt a great sense of relief. The vampire of Düsseldorf was finally caught. Maria's bravery was very important. Without her, Kürten might have kept committing crimes. What she did showed how important it is for people to help the police solve crimes. The arrest was the end of a terrible time for Düsseldorf. It also started a new part of the story, learning about the mind of the person who caused so much fear. Kürten's capture showed that regular people can make a big difference. The police had worked very hard, but it was Maria's bravery that made the crucial difference. The hunt was over, but the search for answers was just starting. After he was arrested, Peter Kürten admitted to a shocking number of crimes. He described 9 murders and many attacks on people. Some of these crimes had happened years before. He told his stories in a calm, matter-of-fact way that made investigators uncomfortable. Kürten did not seem sorry for what he did. Instead, he talked more about why he thought he did these things. He seemed very interested in his own reasons for his actions and wanted people to understand him. His confessions helped police solve many old cases. They also gave a rare look into the mind of a serial killer. But he probably exaggerated some details, maybe because he wanted to be famous for his crimes. It was scary how normal he looked, even though he had done such terrible things. Police carefully checked his stories, comparing them with evidence from the crime scenes. Because Kürten was willing to talk so much, psychologists studied him very closely. His confessions became a very important part of the investigation and the trial that was coming. For people who study crime, his openness was upsetting, but also very useful. The vampire of Düsseldorf was no longer a mystery. He was a man, and his true nature was revealed. Peter Kürten's trial in April 1931 got attention from all over the world. The courtroom was full. People everywhere wanted to understand the man who had caused so much fear. Kürten spoke clearly and seemed calm as he told the court about his difficult past and the violent things he did. His story gave a rare look at how someone could become extremely violent. Studies of his mind, led by Professor Carl Berg, were very important in the trial. Professor Berg wrote a famous study called Der Sadist. It carefully examined Kürten's reasons for his actions and his mental condition. The court decided Kürten was sane, meaning he understood what he was doing. But doctors said his personality showed clear signs of being psychopathic and sadistic, meaning he lacked care for others and enjoyed causing pain. He seemed to enjoy the attention in court and showed a scary lack of care for other people's feelings. The trial was more than just about law. It was an attempt to understand where such evil comes from. The public and experts were fascinated by the complicated things they learned about his mind. Kürten's case helped expand the field of forensic psychology, which is psychology used in legal cases. The court's decision would soon end the legal part of his story, but people remained fascinated by him. The world had seen a new type of criminal. The trial ended. Kürten was found guilty of 9 murders and was sentenced to death. He accepted his punishment with a strange calmness. It was said that he even asked if he would hear his own blood after being beheaded. On July 2nd, 1931, Kürten was executed by a machine called a guillotine in Cologne. His death helped the people of Düsseldorf feel like the terror was over, but many questions remained. Kürten's brain was saved so scientists could study it. They hoped to find physical reasons for why he committed his crimes, but they found no easy answers. His case was too complex to fit simple explanations. His execution was seen by many as justice, but it also started new arguments about whether the death penalty was right or wrong. For some people, his death was the right ending. For others, it made them think hard about how society deals with evil people. The vampire of Düsseldorf was gone, but his story continued to be told. His crimes and his personality continued to interest and scare people. The case became an important example in discussions about how criminals think and what is just. Kürten's execution closed one part of the story, but what he left behind would continue to affect people. The terrible things he did in Düsseldorf would be remembered for a long time. Peter Kürten's story didn't end when he died. His story became a famous, almost mythical tale. His case inspired books, movies, and studies, shaping early ideas about psychopathy. The famous movie M by Fritz Lang was partly inspired by Kürten's crimes. Professor Carl Berg's book, The Sadist, became a very important early book for people studying crime. Kürten's willingness to talk gave a rare look into a criminal's mind, helping experts look more closely at what causes violence. Today, Kürten is remembered as one of Germany's most well-known and evil criminals. What he left behind is both a warning and a lesson. The vampire of Düsseldorf remains a dark and memorable figure. His terrible fame continues.